So, if you don't mind muting yourselves, I don't know how to mute people. Like, I think my husband showed me a lot of times. I still haven't managed. So today we are doing Capital Hay or 5. This is the last share before Pesach. Then we'll break for Pesach, and thank goodness today I feel much more healthy than I did last Thursday, when my head was in a bit of a fog. But yeah, thank God that I can breathe again and everything. So here we are, chapter 5, and it's let's find the first. And this is the capital of Tehillim, which it says that we say this capital Tehillim when we're asking Hashem to help us when we feel that we are being victimized, if that's the right word. We're asking Hashem to help us to see the good in the good that we do, and to be successful. And so it begins, Lamnatzeach al ha-nechilos, for the conductor on the nechilos, Mizmor David, a song, a psalm by David. So right away, we, as usual, we see the first line, the introduction to the chief musician, and it's saying to the chief musician that this is one of those kapitach that's going to be sung in the Beis Hamikdash, and the instructions for how to do it on the nechilos. So what are the nechilos? By most opinions, they were some kind of flute, a blowing instrument. There's an opinion that the word nechilot also means swarms, and so that the noise that came out of the nechilos sounded like buzzing bees. I think here in South Africa we know that well, vuvuzelas, and this was kind of a sound that was made. It says that this capital of Tehillim was sung whenever there were lots of enemies coming at the Jewish people. And so the nechilos, which sounded like the enemies coming, Lamnatzeach al ha-nechilos, when you want victory over the swarms of people who are going against the Jews, or just the swarms who are coming against us personally, this is the capital, this is the chapter to sing. The Rebbe explains, as an introduction to this chapter of Tehillim, he explains that, and I remember that we've done quite a few kapitlach of Tehillim further on in Sefer Tehillim. This is right from the beginning. It's the 5th chapter. And so what the Rebbe says about the introduction over here applies to a lot of the chapters that we've learned already. And he says what was so unique about David HaMelech right through his life, but most specifically in Tehillim, was that he was able to see godliness in this physical world. So us human beings, we are generally physical people. And while we're in this physical world, physicality is what's most apparent to us. And the soul, the neshama, is able to appreciate spirituality only in the other world. So the Zohar actually explains that when a person passes away, the neshama goes through what it calls a river of fire, and it no longer sees physicality. It now appreciates godliness absolutely and completely. So before, or lucky that we're on a computer and you can't all throw eggs at me, and you say, what does it mean that we don't see spirituality? We see lots of spirituality in this in this world. So the truth is, we only get little glimpses of spirituality while we're living in this world, and the more we look at people who had this ability to see spirituality in this world, and we see what they did, that's how we get to see spirituality in this world. And so David HaMelech taught us one of the best ways to see spirituality in this world, and that is saying Tehillim. When a person says Tehillim, studies Tehillim, one of the things that they are accomplishing is that they're bringing spirituality, godliness into this physical world. And this is the greatness of David HaMelech that he gave us, or one of the greatnesses of David HaMelech, that he gave us this whole book, this whole sefer of Tehillim, and he said, here, use it. And when you use this book of Tehillim, what will happen? You will be able to get a glimpse of spirituality in this very physical world. And so says that's the introduction to this capital, because here it seems David HaMelech is talking about a time where we're going to be overcome by physicality, enemies who are coming at us, people who don't want to see our success, harsh physical things. And David HaMelech says, let's be successful, okay, over those swarms of things that try and don't allow us to see godliness. Mizmor David, how should you do it? You should sing. You should sing, you should say Tehillim, and that's what's going to help you to see godliness in this physical world. Some of the commentaries also explain that what David HaMelech was saying here was I will have victory over all these various challenges, even when they're all facing me, when all these challenges are just coming at me, swarming at me, as we explained. Mizmor David had this unbelievable ability that even in the harshest times he would sing. He would turn to Hashem and he would sing, and he would try and find the good and the pleasant and the happy in every single situation. So what does he say over here, Pasuk Beis? He says, Amarai ha'azina Hashem. Hashem, listen to my words. Bino hagigi, and understand my thoughts. And it's such a strong pasuk, because the first thing that we ask of Hashem is to listen to us. When we turn to Hashem, we want him to listen to us, and he's made us this promise that we can daven, we can turn to him either in formal or informal prayer, and it's our hope that he's going to listen to us. But the stronger thing is bino hagigi, and understand my thoughts. There are times where we can't express what we're feeling. There are times where we are overwhelmed by our feelings. There's sometimes where we are scared and therefore we can't express what we're feeling. There's times where we are shocked and we're just rendered speechless. So there are lots of times that we have so much to say and we don't have the ability to say it. And this, David HaMelech says, Bino Hagigi. I'm asking you, Hashem, not just to listen when I actually express myself, but even understand when I don't express myself. When I'm just thinking and I'm not saying anything. And actually, David HaMelech expresses this very often, and we've taken a pasuk which we actually came across in Tehillim before, and we use it in our davening every day, where we say, Yuda Ratzon Imrei Fi, may Hashem, may my words be your will, and then we say Vehegyon Libi, and also the feelings of my heart, because there's so many times where we aren't always able to express exactly what we're feeling, and we're asking Hashem, listen to that also. David HaMelech continues, Pasuk Gimel, and he says, Hakshiva lakol shavi, listen to the sound of my cry, Malki v'Elokai, my King and my God, Ki elecha espalel, because it's to you that I'm davening. And again, a very strong comment that we're making here, that we should all get strength from. We ask Hashem to listen to us. David says, why should Hashem listen to us? Not because I'm great and not because I'm good and not because I deserve it. That's not what David says. He says, why should you, I'm asking you to listen to me. Why? Ki elecha espalel, because I'm turning to you, because I'm davening to you. So it's like if a child comes and says to their mother, can you give me this, that, or the other? And she says, why should I give it to you? And the answer is, because you're my mother, right? That's why you should give it to me. And this is our relationship with Hashem. Why should you listen to me, Hashem? Because I'm asking you, okay, just simply, I am davening to you. So we never have to think that we're not great enough to daven. We never have to think that we don't deserve what we're asking for. We have to daven to Hashem Just so. Why? Ki elecha espalel, we turn to Hashem, and he specifically uses the word espalel, the word tefillah, espalel, from the word palal, pei lamed lamed, which means to connect. Why should Hashem listen to us? Because we want to connect to him. And just as we'll see this theme get bigger as this kapitel develops, David HaMelech says just the desire to turn to Hashem already connects us to him. David continues and he says, Hashem, Baker Tishma Kaili. Hashem, listen to my voice in the morning. Baker E'erach Lacha. I prepare my prayers for you in the morning for Atzapeh, and then I wait. Okay. So the Ma'amlai says that a person who davens in the morning, such a person, his prayers will be listened to without scrutiny. So we want to know what that means. You should get up in the morning and daven then, okay? Because Hashem will just listen to us. So at a very simple surface level, if we could call this simple, morning is a time of chesed, of kindness. That's when Hashem is, if we could say this, kiviyachol, Hashem is in a good mood. And so it's a good time for davening. The morning is a good time to pray. Also, we are told that Boker, when David HaMelech speaks, Boker always alludes to good times where when things are easier, better, happier. And so what David HaMelech is saying here, he says, in the morning, you hear my words. In other words, it's much easier for us to daven when things are going well. It's much easier for us to turn to Hashem and stop and pray on an everyday basis, not when we're asking for something very, very specific. But in the morning, that's a good time. And actually, the first act that a person does when he wakes up in the morning should be some kind of prayer, should have prayers on his lips. So traditionally we say Maida'ani, we get up and we say, thank you for letting me get up. But then before we get involved in any kind of worldly activities, we should do some level of prayer. Even women who are not obligated in tefillah, in tefillah v'tzibur, we are obligated in tefillah, we are obligated to daven something, even if it's just a small request from Hashem. This concept of Baker E'erach Lacha, in the morning I prepare for you. So there's also the concept of preparing to daven. Okay, so in case you didn't think it was big enough that you've got to make time in your day to daven, you also have to make time to prepare to daven. So it became a custom in all Hasidic yeshivas that before the people would daven, they would sit and learn, meditate, depending on which kind of chassidim they were, meditate, they would do hisbaininus, do all those kind of things to prepare themselves, to put themselves in the right mood, in the right space, in the right ability for davening. Just as a by the way, that's why Hasidic shuls and yeshivas traditionally start later than Litvish, regular Ashkenazi. It's not so that people should be able to sleep late on Shabbos morning, even though unfortunately for a lot of people that's what it's become. It's not so that the Bochrim should be able to sleep late in the morning. They're supposed to get up very early and already have learned for an hour or so before they daven, and if they're sleeping late, then they are not doing what is actually what the yeshiva or the shul intends for them to be doing. We also know that it is better to do other things if need be, in order that we should be able to daven, than to daven so that we should do other things. In other words, we should daven before we need things from Hashem. We should daven just so, because we wake up in the morning and we want to daven, we want to turn to Hashem and daven, and not wait until we are in a position that we need to daven for something. This concept is always taught to us with a cute story of the Rebbetzin Rivka. It says the Rebbetzin Rivka wasn't well, and the doctors told her that it was very important for her to eat as soon as she got up in the morning. And the Rebbetzin Rivka, being the great tzaddikus that she was, she didn't want to eat before she had davened. So she came up with a plan. She said, if I always get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm just made up the time. If I always get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and now the doctors are saying that I need to eat before I daven, I'm going to get up a little bit earlier, and then I'll daven, and then I'll eat. And her father, who was the Rebbe at that time, told her that her plan wasn't so clever. She needed to eat before she davened. And the Rebbe said to her, "Besser essen zu lib davenen, wie davenen zu lib essen." It's better to eat in order to daven than to daven in order to eat. And this is like a lesson we need to take into our lives. It's better for us to daven just because we wake up in the morning and we decide that we want to daven, and to be put in a position where we have to daven and such. Pasuk hey. You are not a God who wants to be badness, no wickedness. There is no badness with you. So at a very literal level, what is this line? What is David HaMelech saying over here? There's no evil in Hashem. In other words, whatever Hashem does is good. Nothing Hashem does is bad. And we've heard that a lot of times, and you could spend much more than one shir discussing it, debating it, trying to understand. But the knowledge, says David HaMelech, there is no evil in you. There is nothing bad that Hashem does. Sometimes there are things that we don't like. Many times there are things we don't like. More times there are things we don't understand, but there's nothing that is bad. That's first level. The next level of understanding this line is that where there is godliness, there is no bad. So just by the fact that there's godliness there, nothing bad is happening. If we see something that is bad, then it's missing some level of godliness. And then a third level of understanding this, the Alter Rebbe explains that humans are intrinsically good. We all are good. So no person should ever feel, I'm not good enough to daven, or about someone else. They're not good enough to daven. They get involved with bad. They do things that are wrong. They say things that aren't okay. Says the Malbim, no yagurchara. There is no bad, that someone who is too bad to come close to Hashem. Remember, there was a lot of debate when the Rebbe first started the tefillin campaign, if you could put on tefillin on people who were bad. Okay, what about people who didn't keep any mitzvahs at all, didn't behave nicely at all? And then we would go to them and say to them, will you put on tefillin today? And there were many of the opinion that that's not okay. You can't let someone who is bad put on tefillin. And the Rebbe explained to us that there is no such contradiction. Just because a person is not doing everything that's right doesn't mean that they can't do something that's great and good. Lo yagur chara, right? Bad doesn't come near to Hashem. As when you're doing good, then you're good. If it is real good. The Melech continues and he says, you fools, Hailelim, will not stand in front of you. So Nesa Kalpale Avin, and you hate all those who are busy with evil. So again, insincerity, and we'll see that in the next pasuk as well. This is what Hashem doesn't like. He doesn't like people who are not sincere. He doesn't like people who are liars or involved with like really bad, wicked stuff, as we'll see. The commentaries tell us that here David HaMelech is speaking most specifically about two people in his life who were bad, who were wicked, who he considers these Hailelim. And these were Doeg HaDaimi and Achitophel. So Doeg was the one, he was actually from Shaul's men, and he's most well known for killing all the Kohanim in the city of Nov. And he did plenty of other bad stuff. He got Shaul. He tried to get Shaul to take Michal away from David HaMelech. He was involved in quite bad stuff. And Achitophel also, he was the one who convinced Avshalom, David's son, to rebel against him. So these two people did really bad stuff. On the other hand, they were very big Torah scholars, and they used to teach. And David HaMelech asks Hashem, he says, don't let them be successful, right? Because their success makes people confused about what is the right way of Hashem and what isn't. And he says, I know about you, Hashem, that you don't like these people who appear to be great and are not. He says, Pasuk Zayin, Ta'abed Davrei Chazav, destroy those who tell lies. Ish damim umirma Yisrael Hashem. God hates men of who are murderers and who are deceitful. So he's saying, Hashem, they appear to the world to be good, but they're really bad, right? They murderers. They killed the people of the Kohanim of Naiv. They tricked Avshalom. Avshalom also tried to kill David, but they were involved with trickery, with deceit, with all bad stuff. Don't let them get away. Don't let them get away with this. And interestingly, Doeg and Achitophel both died very young. Doeg was 34 years old. Achitophel was 35 years old when when they died. The next pasuk you will probably all recognize. David HaMelech says, "V'ani b'rov chazdecha avovesecha." And as for me, I come because of your great kindness into your house. Eshtachave el hechal kadshecha b'yirasecha, and I bow to you in your holy place because of the fact that I'm in awe of you. So you might recognize this pasuk because we have a custom to say it when we walk into shul. Not everybody does, but it is a custom to say it. The method of saying it is a person should walk into shul. They should face the Aron Kodesh. They should bow their head slightly and say this pasuk. V'ani b'rov chasdecha avovesecha. The custom came into being to teach people to respect shuls. And I think this pasuk says it to us, that a shul is a place where we need to show respect. It is, as the words in this pasuk, beisecha, the home of Hashem. And just like you have to feel at home in shul, you also have to know that it has to be treated with respect. And so it became customary to say this pasuk as you walk into shul. It's interesting that in most religions, the way they get people to come into a place of prayer is because the people are scared. The people are scared of their God. They come in fear. And in Yiddishkeit, that is not the best way to come before Hashem. The best way to come before Hashem is when we come b'rov chasdecha, because we realize Hashem's great kindness. We are grateful for His kindness, and not only are we grateful for His kindness, we see it; it's evident, and we just want to be there. We want to be around. This is the best way. Vani b'rov chasdecha. I come to you, Hashem. I come because you are so kind, and that I want to be there. Avovesecha, coming to your home, and make myself feel at home in your home. And the commentaries tell us over here that one of the things that we have to do is feel at home in shul. Now, feeling at home in shul doesn't mean disrespect, right? So just like when you go into someone's home and you feel at home there, there's still ways that you have to behave there. So how you have to behave when you are in somebody's home, that says that we have to find ways to feel at home in shul. So for some people that means learning better how to daven. For some people it means going to different shul. For some people it means sitting in a different place in the shul. We have to figure out what makes us feel at home in our in Hashem's home, and then we still have to treat that place with respect. But being in Hashem's presence, being in Hashem's home, just because we love Him and just because we see the kindness of Him, that's not good enough. David HaMelech finishes and he says, "Eshtachave, I serve you. Why? B'yirasecha, because I'm in awe of you." And so the ideal in Yiddishkeit is not just to feel love for Hashem, but to reach a level of serving Hashem because we realize how great Hashem is, and we in absolute awe of Hashem and of His greatness. So, as you know, Avraham Avinu's midah, his main dominant behavior was kindness, chesed, and Yitzchak's main dominant behavior was yira, fear. And neither of those on their own are good. So you know that Avraham made many people come close to Hashem, but we never hear about any of them. We don't hear about any of Avraham's pupils, disciples, followers. Once Avraham died, they were all gone. They all disappeared. And that's because you cannot be God like I don't know, Shomrei Torah. You can't connect to Hashem just with chesed, just with kindness. Yitzchak came along, and he's the epitome of yira, of fear. And we never hear about anybody who Yitzchak convinced to be close to Hashem. Also, sure, he did have many followers, but they all also disappeared after Yitzchak died, because you can't serve Hashem just out of fear. Comes along Yaakov, and Yaakov is the combination of chesed, of kindness, and of yira, of fear, and that's Yaakov, and that's who we are. That's we are the nation that comes from Avraham and Yitzchak. We come from Yaakov, and that's what this pasuk says. Vani beroif chasdecha, I come first with the chesed of Avraham, but what makes us into Jews, what makes us into who we are, I eventually I also have fear of God as well. Continues and says, Hashem necheni b'tzid kasecha, Hashem lead me in your righteous ways, leman sheirai, so that those who are following me, hayishar lefanai darkecha, make your path straight before me. And the commentaries explain to us that the biggest trick of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination, is that it makes us confused about who we are. It makes us confused about what we're doing. And most times when we do something that isn't right, it's not out of rebelliousness. It's because we're not 1,000,000% sure that we're doing something wrong. We have all justifications. We have all explanations for ourselves why what we're doing is okay. And here's David HaMelech's plea. He says, Hashem, you show us, you show us what's right and wrong. Leman sheirai, so that those who are watching me don't see me slip up. Let them see me do what is correct, what is right and correct. The Ramelech continues and explains, Ki ein befiu nechena kirbam havais kever pasuach greinam l'shenam yachalikum. What they say is not sincere. Their thoughts are not good. Their mouths are like open graves. Their throats devour the fruits of my labor. And so again, at simple level, the Ramelech is explaining over here how speech and the things we say and the things other people say can pull us down, can bring us down completely. Going back to the story of Doeg and Achitophel, the historical basis for this kapitel. So it says that when Doeg was coming to the end of his life, David HaMelech davened to Hashem, and we saw some of that here. Hashem, don't let him be successful. Let those people who are watching see that if you lie, if you cheat, if you murder, that you aren't a successful person. Let people see that. And so it says that the Yalkut Shimoni describes the end of Doeg's life, that he was teaching, because he was a very big Talmud Chacham, and he was teaching Torah, and slowly started forgetting what he was saying. He couldn't remember what he was saying, and he got very anxious about it, and he started making up halacha, making up various things. And his students realized, and they tried to stop him, but he was insistent that he was correct, that he was right. And he started telling them real garbage and bad things, that they should be involved with bad things. And it says that his students pulled him out of the Beis Medrash, and they said to him, you're being punished, okay? You're being punished for the bad things that you did. 3 angels of destruction came. This is according to the Yalkut Shimoni. The one took his neshama, so in other words, he died. The other one burnt his body and scattered his ashes over every one of the Batei Medrash, every shul, school, learning place. And it says, the Yalkut Shimoni says that the ashes of Doeg are there in every single base Medrash forever onwards. And what does this actually mean? Because literally that's not what happened. And they would be long gone if that was the case. But what's saying is that every single person who stands up to teach has the ability either to teach Torah, sincere and good, or they have the ashes of Doeg Hadami, God forbid. And when a person is standing and teaching, they need to remember that and remember who they want to be. That they've got to be careful of the things that come out of their mouths. David HaMelech, he says, Hashem condemn them, let their own thoughts bring them down, drive them away because of their many sins, they have rebelled against you. So that's David's plea for Doeg and Achitophel. And then he finishes off speaking about the greatness, the happiness of people who do follow Hashem and do what he wants. And he says, all those who rely on you will be happy. Forever they will sing. And you will give them refuge. Let those who love you rejoice in you. Why? Because you bless the righteous Hashem, katsina, like a shield. You will surround them with satisfaction. And so this is David HaMelech's plea that those people who do what they're supposed to do, those people who behave as they're supposed to, should find happiness in it. They should find pleasure and they should find satisfaction in connecting with Hashem. Interesting, the word that he uses, ratzon ta'atrena, you will surround them with satisfaction. The commentaries point out to us that ratzon is the same letters as the Hebrew word sinor. Sinor means a pipe or a conduit. And he says that when a person gets themselves involved with Hashem, just the desire to get, just the ratzon, just the desire to connect with Hashem becomes tzinor, it becomes a conduit, it becomes a pipe which connects us to Hashem. So that's even if we haven't already connected with Hashem, even if we just have this thought, this ratzon, this desire, that already is the first step in guaranteeing that we connect with Hashem and that we will find happiness in what we are doing. And that brings us to the end of Kapitel Hey, the 5th chapter of Tehillim. I wish you all a good Shabbos, a Chag Kosher V'Sameach, to be a kosher, happy Pesach for everyone, and we will resume after Pesach, please God.
Thank you, Rivki. Wonderful share. Beautiful.
Huh? She just.
This is a share.